Hello and welcome to What's New in Radium Web. We'll cover three main items in this video. First of all, we'll introduce Radium Web itself. Then we'll discuss an open source app based on Radium Web called Thorium Web. And finally, we'll cover some of the key updates for both projects. Radium Web is the project name that we use for two complementary toolkits. We have the Go toolkit, and there's also the TypeScript toolkit, also known as TS toolkit. When we first started working on what we called the Radium architecture back in 2017, the very first prototypes were actually web-based. In 2021, we started porting code from the Radium mobile project to the web platform, starting with the Go toolkit and then with the TypeScript one. Early version of the toolkit have been used in production since 2022, and the project itself reached a fairly stable state by mid-2023. A typical implementation of Radium Web uses the Go toolkit on the server side and the TS toolkit as the rendering engine on the client side. The Go toolkit streams EPUB files and transforms them on the fly to web publications. The TS toolkit consumes that web publication, displays it to the user, and provides all the necessary interactions that you would expect. If you're already familiar with Radium Mobile, you'll notice that all of the key concepts, all the core APIs, they're the same. It's very much by design that we've decided to do that, but we've also built this project for implementers that are completely new to Radium. In addition to the toolkit, we believe that having a fully open source application is very important for the web platform. That's the reason we decided to build Thorium Web, a project that goes well beyond what we usually do in Radium. You'll notice that the branding is different for this one, and there's a reason for that. Radium projects are all toolkits, or lower level building blocks for these toolkits. These projects are hosted by the Radium Foundation, a nonprofit based in the US. Thorium, on the other hand, is meant to designate fully fleshed reading applications. The Thorium product line is managed by Idealab, a European nonprofit. Of course, both organizations work hand in hand towards the same goal. Before we cover the details, it feels important to highlight the vision behind this new project. Our top priority is to build a multimodal reading app that's accessible by design. Among other things, this means that we'll focus on creating new accessibility features, both for text and for audio. We also know that Radium Web and Thorium Web need to be easy to deploy and customizable. We're not creating a monolithic app that you'll need to fork whenever you need something that looks or behave a little differently. Quite the opposite. Expect customization options, APIs, and documentation to facilitate your work. And to fulfill that promise, we're using building blocks that can be reused, either by us or by implementers. From a feature standpoint, Thorium Web currently supports reflowable and fixed layout EPUB files. We expect to add supports for audiobooks this summer and comics before the end of the year, which means that they'll also be added to Radium Web at the same time. You also get pretty much all the core features that you would expect from a web reader. Right now, this means display settings, progression, and table of contents. But expect us to add additional features as well, such as read aloud or progression slider. With the addition of audiobooks, we'll also add new multimedia controls that you'll be able to use with ebooks as well for read aloud. Since we've designed Thorium Web to work on all screen sizes, it also comes down with accessible and responsive components that we use throughout the different features that we implement. These components are meant to be reusable, allowing implementers to build new features on top of them. Under the hood, this is a Next.js application written in TypeScript on top of Radium Web. To help with the accessibility of our components, we're leveraging Adobe's React Aria. And as usual, this project is available on GitHub under a permissive BSD3 license. Just make sure that you look up for Thorium Web under the Idealab organization. The link is also available under this video's description or on YouTube if you need it. Finally, let's cover Radium Playground. The Playground is several things at once. First of all, it's a reference implementation. If you're interested in building on top of Thorium Web, it highlights how this can be done. It's also a way to play with Radium Web Thorium Web and Radium CSS. A normal app would only display a limited set of options. Playground adopts a very different approach, illustrating what's possible with these projects instead. Behind the scenes, it uses built-in APIs and extensibility points. It exposes them in a UI, allowing implementers to better understand how they can customize the experience. As we roll out new features and APIs, we'll make sure to also update the playground to better illustrate what's possible. Radium CSS plays an important role in every Radium toolkit, handling critical features such as pagination and user preferences. It's been mostly stable for the last few years, but we started working on a major revision last summer. Among the key changes, we can highlight a new approach to how we handle font size, using zoom rather than normalizing font sizes to achieve that goal. In general, Radium CSS v2 tends to be less opinionated than before, giving additional controls to developers working with it. With our implementation of this new version in Radium Web, we were able to fine-tune our approach and resolve a number of bugs. Expect Radium CSS v2 to become available in Radium Mobile in the future once we've named all the details. While Radium CSS does most of the heavy lifting, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to work with. That's why the Kotlin and the Swift toolkits introduced the Preferences API. Through the Preferences API, applications can configure their own display preferences, and they can also allow users to tweak things however they want. It covers all the most common display settings, like font size, font family, spacing, themes, and many more. This was probably the biggest missing piece in the TypeScript toolkit compared to mobile, and it will also be extended to audiobooks and comics as we add support for them. With the advent of the European Accessibility Act in June, we're also bringing extended support for accessibility metadata to the Go toolkit. Since the beginning of the year, we've added support for conformance to EPUB Accessibility 1.1, EAA exemptions, along with new values for accessibility features. We've also built a command line utility on top of the Go toolkit, with brand new capabilities for extracting and inferring accessibility metadata. As we covered during the introduction of this video, the typical use case for the Go toolkit is to stream publication stored in object storage and turn them into web publications on the fly. Streaming zip resources from object storage can be tricky though, and require extra optimization steps to be efficient. We recently merged a PR in the Go toolkit that specifically covers this need, targeting support for APIs compatible with Amazon's S3, Google Cloud Storage, along with HTTP and HTTPS support. Finally, we're glad to announce that the first beta for Thorium Web 1.0 is now available. With this initial release, we feel that the project has reached a state that makes it usable in production. We'll continue to work on this 1.0 release in May, targeting a final version in June. Expect additional guides, documentation, new customization options, and new screens in the playground to illustrate what's possible. We hope that this first video was useful, and we look forward to providing more updates in the future. To make sure that you don't miss anything, you can subscribe and also click on the bell icon for notifications. We also post regular updates on LinkedIn, where you can learn about our community as well. Have a nice day, and see you next time.